Hey everyone, Carol Cowan here today to introduce to you the instructions for the board game called Choices, the relationship game. And joining me today is Tina.
Hello.
Who's been so gracious, who's going to help me demonstrate the game. So when you open the box, what you will find is a few different pieces. The board game, you can unfold it and set it out. And you'll also find four different sets of cards, and so we'll describe those and I'll describe the board for you, and you'll also find a set of instructions, and you'll also find some little people. So you'll find you and whoever you're playing with can choose which color you'd like to be. Tina, who would you like to be today?
Could be the orange, please.
Okay, and I'll be the green. And you'll find four decks of cards. So you'll see on Tina's side she has some blue cards, and those represent boundary cards, and she has some yellow ones as well. So she's going to place those on the appropriate spots. It's pretty straightforward. In the matching spots, there's also some pink cards that represent support people in your life. And there's a large deck of gray cards with red and green flags on them, and those are going to be your question cards. So we'll put those in the right spot. The board game actually represents the domestic violence cycle, which we'll start with. So in the experience of playing the game, what you might find is that it's actually a little difficult to end the game, or you might feel stuck in this circle or the cycle because you might have to go around the board a few times. Now what that is actually meant to represent is what it feels like for people that are stuck in a domestic violence relationship or an unhealthy, toxic relationship. I think the biggest misconception that we find working in the field is that a lot of people think it's really easy to get out, but the truth is it's not. And there's a number of factors and a number of reasons why that might be difficult for somebody. So what often happens is that relationships that include domestic violence or that are unhealthy are not all good or all bad. So what they often find is that there's a calm stage where things are okay in the relationship and things seem like they're always going to be okay. But then there's tension that builds and they feel like they're walking on eggshells, if you've ever heard that term before. And then there's an incident, a blow up. Perhaps that includes physical abuse, mental or emotional, name calling, financial abuse, sexual abuse, or a combination thereof. And then after that, there's a period of reconciliation. And so what you'll find on the board is that there's arrows representing this cycle, and you're going to move around the board in that direction. And so in order to get out of this cycle, there's a couple of things that need to happen in the game. So we're going to ask questions of each other. There's scenarios on these cards, and we'll demonstrate that in just a moment. And Tina's going to help me decide if that's a red flag or a green flag in the relationship. And the red flag represents something that's probably unhealthy. So as you're playing the game, I'm going to invite you to imagine that you're newly dating someone. Most of the scenarios represent the first, 6 months of a relationship. And so if it's a green flag, it looks like it's going to be a healthy relationship and something that you would want to move forward with. And if it's a red flag, you listen to your gut and your intuition, that's probably not going to turn out to be a healthy relationship, or that there might be abuse. Now, in order to get out of this cycle, there's some things that are required. You need to pick up a pink card, a yellow card, and a blue card. So the blue cards actually represent boundaries, and so we'll talk a little bit about how to set boundaries with unhealthy people in your life. And there's different types of boundaries and ways to do that, and you'll be asked during the game, if you land in a blue spot, to identify boundaries. You're also going to be asked to identify forms of self-care, because sometimes getting out of a healthy relationship is going to require putting yourself and your own needs first. You'll also need to pick up a pink card in order to exit the game, and that's going to represent support people in your life. So you'll be invited to share who might you use for support in your life. And of course, the gray cards we've already talked about are the question cards. Awesome. So let's get started. All of these instructions are also in the instruction sheet. If for whatever reason you find the experience of reading the scenarios on the gray cards to be uncomfortable, there is a few that are a bit descriptive, and if you don't like reading them, or if you find the game triggering for you in any way, shape, or form, perhaps because it's very real for you, or you've been there, or it's disturbing for you to read them, then I would strongly encourage you to stop playing the game, to take a break, and to contact a professional if need be. That being said, I'm going to invite Tina to read me a card.
Perfect. So, your partner suggests that you just give them their password to your Facebook account so they can make sure that no one is flirting with you. You tell your partner that you're not comfortable with that. This just makes them angry and they slam their fist on the table demanding their password. Is this a red flag or a green flag?
You know, Tina, that would be a red flag for me.
Yes, correct. And you can move ahead 4 spaces.
Oh. Is there a description? Usually there's a description on the card about why we think what makes that a red flag.
Perfect. So demanding your passwords is a controlling behavior. So losing control when you're angry can lead to an unsafe situation. So the ability to stay calm and respect your partner's boundaries is healthy.
Yeah. So what's great about the cards is that they also have a descriptive component to them in terms of what's healthy and not healthy. You'll find at the bottom. And then instead of rolling a dice, when the card has been answered, it'll tell you how many spaces to move ahead. All right. Was that green?
That was a...
So I'm going to move ahead 4 spaces.
4 spaces.
So I'm going to move my little green guy 4 spaces. I'm landing on a gray, so that means we're just going to swap turns.
Mm-hmm.
And if we land on a colored card, we'll show you what to do.
Perfect.
So now I'm going to raise a Tina. And you can just set the other gray card aside once it's been read. There's 70 cards, and so chances of you getting through the deck are pretty slim, but you can always recycle the cards if that happens. All right, your partner said they would stop drinking alcohol and commit to staying sober. You were sure that you had this conversation, but you find them drinking again. You remind them of their commitment, but they outright deny it and call you crazy. Then they make you start to question your reality. Red flag or green flag?
I'm going to say it's a red flag.
That is a red flag. Alcohol and substance use can become a problem in some relationships, and gaslighting is when an abusive person manipulates you to make you question your reality. Tina, you can move ahead 6 spaces.
Sorry.
So Tina's yelled on a yellow spot here, and so she's going to pick up a self-care card, which is great. Sorry, go ahead. She needs to collect a yellow, a blue, and a pink before she can exit the game. And once she collects all 3 colors, she then has to keep answering gray question cards until she lands on one of 4 exit spots on the game. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. If you land on an exit spot but you don't have your 3 colored cards yet, you are not allowed to end the game. But if you have your 3 colored cards and you land on that spot, that is the official end of the game. But right now, Tina's going to read the yellow card for us.
Perfect. So it's self-care is when you make an effort to protect your own well-being and happiness, particularly during periods of stress. So there are different types of self-care, including physical, emotional, spiritual, or social. So this card says, share with your fellow players what you would do for self-care if you were dealing with stress in your relationship. So I might take time out, I might go for a walk out in nature.
Nice. So Tina's going to hang on to that yellow card, and then she's going to read another question because it's my turn again to move.
Okay, so you think things are going okay in your relationship with your partner, but you've had some pretty nasty fights. Your friends and family members try to tell you repeatedly that it's not a healthy relationship, and maybe you should think of getting out. They don't even know about the extent of the name calling. Is this a red flag or a green flag?
I'm going to say that's a red flag.
That is correct. So family members and friends may see the signs of an abusive relationship before we do, especially if we feel we have to hide things that happen. So it says if you answer correctly, you're going to move ahead 4 spaces.
I'm still in a gray spot.
Okay.
All right, Tina, showing physical affection is really important to you in a relationship. You're out with your partner at the mall and they put their arm around you as you're walking together. They check in with you and make sure you're comfortable, and you say yes because you feel relaxed and content. Red flag or green flag?
Oh, it's got to be a green flag.
This is a green flag. Checking in with a partner about forms of physical affection is a sign of respect. Tina, I can move ahead 3 spaces.
All right. Gray.
Sorry? No?
It's your turn?
Yeah.
Okay. So you and your partner disagree on how to spend the holidays together as your families have different traditions.
Wait a second, that's you.
So,
2, 3. 1, 2, 3. You get a blue card.
that's funny.
Let's put that over there. You can read it
we'll
to me.
put that one over
Grab the blue card,
All
then
right.
you can read that.
So boundaries are limits that you set with other people in your life. So there are different types of boundaries, including physical, emotional, sexual, intellectual, and material things. So this card says you're going to share with your fellow players an example of a boundary that you would set with an abusive person in your life. And it says, for example, blocking someone's phone number or not answering the door. So I might put a boundary of how much time I'm going to spend with this person.
Ooh, that's a good one. That's a good one. So Tina's got a yellow card and a blue card, and I don't have any. So Tina's getting pretty close here. So yeah, you moved.
No, I moved. And
Okay.
I'm going to read to you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I moved my guy back. Okay, we're good.
So you and your partner disagree on how to spend the holidays together, as your families have different traditions. So your partner suggests that you both come up with a compromise that you're both comfortable and happy with. So you agree to meet in the middle and spend time with each family over the holidays. Is this a red flag or a green flag?
I think that's a green flag.
This is a green flag. So being able to compromise sometimes is an important part of a relationship. So if you answer correctly, you get to move ahead 4 spaces.
And this guy?
You're that guy.
Yes. I landed on the pink spot. Support people in your life are people who you can ask to help you when you need it, and you know they will be there for you no matter what. Share with your fellow players who you would go to for support if you were in an abusive relationship and having difficulty getting out. I would go to one of my closest girlfriends that I've known from high school for a very long period of time, and I'm fairly certain she would be there for me.
Nice.
So I'm going to put that off to the side, and I just moved, so it is your turn to move, which means I'll read you a gray card. You and your partner are out on a date, and you have to wait longer than expected to be seated. After you both order your food, their meal also turns out to be wrong. Your partner handles the situation calmly and is mindful of the fact that the restaurant is short-staffed that evening. They're able to still be kind when things don't go as planned. Red flag or green flag?
Oh, that's a green flag.
Green flag, being able to stay calm and regulate emotions in a challenging situation is actually an important life skill that contributes to healthy relationships. Move ahead 5 spaces.
Perfect. So I'm still on a gray. That's right. Close to the pink.
So close.
All right.
Yes.
I read you.
Okay.
Okay. The new person you're dating seems to be too good to be true, but they want to move forward too quickly in the relationship, and this makes you feel trapped. So you ask them to slow things down, but they push to make your relationship official on social media, and they say that they want you all of themselves. So it's a red flag or a green flag?
That's a red flag for me.
That's right. It's a red flag. If someone who is, possessive of you and it doesn't respect your boundaries, can lead to an unhealthy relationship. So you get to move ahead 6 spaces.
Oh, that's a good guy, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I got a yellow card.
Beautiful.
Self-care. Again, all the yellow cards are the same, the boundary cards are the same, and the pink cards are the same as well. So self-care is when you make an effort to protect your own well-being and happiness, particularly during periods of stress. There's different types, including physical, emotional, spiritual, and social. So I get to share with Tina, my fellow player, what I would do for self-care if I was dealing with stress in a relationship. And I'd probably either seek out counseling, I think. What I would do. Yeah.
All right. Oh, you're reading too.
Yes. That's what I just moved. Your partner asks you not to spend so much time with your best friend anymore, since they really miss you when you're gone. You tell them that it's important to you, but then they threaten you with an ultimatum and say if you really love them, you would spend more time with them. Red flag or green flag?
That's a red flag.
Ultimatums, isolation from friends, and controlling behavior are signs of abuse. Healthy relationships include spending time with others. Tina's going to head 1 space.
Oh. Wow. And I got a self-care card. A support person card. So again, like Carol was saying, they're all the same. So it says support people in your life are people who can ask to help you when you need it, and you know that they'll be there for you no matter what. So again, I'm going to share with your fellow players who you would go to for support if you were in an abusive relationship and having difficulty getting out. So, I always think that, aside from Carol, you said friends, right? You could have maybe a coworker that you feel comfortable with, that maybe you could connect with, right?
Mm-hmm.
And talk to.
Sure. So Tina is now officially eligible to exit the game, i.e., end the domestic violence relationship or the cycle. So she has a yellow card and a blue card and a pink card, which makes her eligible to land one of the exit spots. It makes her eligible to end the game. So it's pretty straightforward from there. It could take 5 minutes or it could take 50 minutes for Tina to land on one of those exit spots, because their odds are, I think, 1 in 64 here, and 64 spots. So our hope, the game was originally designed to educate youth aged 16 to 24 about domestic violence, although there's no limitation on that. So some of the content might not be appropriate for anybody under the age of 16, but certainly this game can be played by adults of all ages to identify red flags, green flags, what's healthy and what's not, and identify abuse in relationships. So the goal in making this game was, again, to provide education and awareness. We believe that if we can educate and create awareness at a younger age, that hopefully there's a prevention piece. Hopefully there's an awareness going into relationships at a young age, where they know to see the red flags of abuse and get out sooner and faster, so that they don't repeat the cycle, and that we can make that big of a difference, and that we can make that sort of change for people. So thanks for watching, and if you have any questions, you can feel free to reach out, and I will put in the comments below how you can reach us. Thanks so much. Take care.